I'll name a few practices. Tell me if they are scientific or not. First of all, astronomy. Is it scientific?
Yes.
Sounds scientific.
What about yoga?
Yes.
Yes. And what about astrology?
Yes.
Both.
50-50.
Okay, let's define what science first. A study of the natural world through reasoning, logic, and experiment. That's science. And pseudoscience, well, anything that either fails to explain itself or fails to demonstrate results in its favor, yet claims itself to be true based entirely on belief. That's pseudoscience. Now, you can believe whatever you want, as long as it does not involve forcing your beliefs onto other people or even lying to others that your beliefs are true. The most classic example of pseudoscience is astrology, by the way. Everyone thinks it's science. That's why it's one of the best examples of pseudoscience. Let's examine how astrology is pseudoscience. First of all astrologers claim that it is true and it works. So if it is true, there must be some evidence for it, right? The basic claim of astrology is that the position of the stars at the moment you are born somehow determines everything that happens in your life. If this were true, two people that were born at the same time would have exactly the same lives, wouldn't they? But twins actually have completely different lives. And when you ask these questions to astrologers, this is go pin drop silent. You may say, okay, good argument, but this isn't convincing. Well, I've got more. Dr. Jayant Narlikar in India conducted an experiment in which he collected birth details of 100 children certified as intellectually bright by the teachers and other 100 mentally ill children from special needs schools. Now he invited astrologers and gave them random 40 children out of the 200 and then asked them to determine whether a child was intellectually bright or they were mentally ill. The best score by an astrologer in this experiment was 24 correct. The average score was 17.5. 17.5 out of 40, roughly 44%. 44% accuracy for something that claims to be science is absolute disaster. The funny part is, Dr. Narlikar had invited an entire astrological society for this experiment. Now you may say one or two individuals may be incompetent, but an entire society of professionals, how can they be incompetent? Well, they can't unless they're just a bunch of frauds stealing your money based on bogus claims. Other common examples of pseudoscience you may not be aware of is polygraphs, better known as lie detectors. We have all seen them in movies, where the cops use them to determine if someone is lying or not. The only problem with polygraphs is they don't actually tell if you're lying. They only measure things like your mental activity, heart rate, pulse rate, etc. Now, just because you're thinking a lot or your heart is racing, that doesn't mean you murdered someone. And by the way, in real life, police don't actually use polygraphs. Even if they did, the results would not be admissible in a court. Other examples of pseudoscience include believing that the Earth would have ended in 2012, or denying climate change, or even believing that the full moon somehow causes insanity. But then, there are certain other people who like to think they are intellectually superior and dismiss everything that cannot be explained as pseudoscience. These people are just as bad as those who claim astrology to be true and scientific. The most common practices that fall victims to this irrational pattern of thinking are religion, yoga, even philosophy. Philosophy isn't pseudoscience. Philosophy is about thoughts and thinking. Rational thinking, logical thinking are the foundations of science. Actually, science is a branch of philosophy, so philosophy cannot be pseudoscience. Another one is religion. Religion is all about faith, and no one ever claimed religion to be scientific. It does not have to be scientific because it's about your belief. So anything that does not claim to be scientific cannot be dismissed as pseudoscience. Now, there's one in this category that's 100% scientific, yet is always dismissed as pseudoscience. That is yoga. Yoga has not only been proven to work, But some scientists have even explained how it works. You exercise certain parts of your body, you become healthy. What's the big deal there? Even subtle forms of yoga, like meditation, has been proven to work. People who meditate are happier than those who don't. It's a fact today. And people who do yoga are healthier than those who don't. In this modern era, it's really necessary that we listen to the voice of reason and do not get fooled by false assumptions just because they call themselves scientific. It is also necessary to have an open mind and not dismiss everything we don't like as false. We all are rational beings that are capable of making that distinction. Thank you.